Everybody, I am Lisa Lazuli, and here we are discussing astrology. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you'll enjoy it and subscribe. Huge variety of stuff going on here, all very based, down to earth, not into gimmicks or anything too airy-fairy. I like to discuss things that, is kind of concrete, helpful, interesting, and that is what we're doing today. If you're one of my regulars, I really do appreciate you guys and the brilliant comments and all the thumbs up, so thank you very, very much for that. I hope you're liking the increased output. Now, interesting, I've got a little theme that I'm going to be doing a few vlogs on, and that is both serial killers, notorious killers, and their birth charts. And I thought we would look today at Dennis Nilsen, because right now there's a program on ITV called Dares. You guys across the world might get it on your Netflix, and it's about the serial killer. Was born in Scotland, and he was active between 1978 and 1983, killed between 12 to 15 men. He was eventually discovered because at his flat, which I think was around Camden Islington area in London, the drains became blocked with body parts, and the plumber called the police, and that led them to kind of investigate. They went up to his flat. There was a massive stench. I think there was a head boiling in a pot, and it came to light that he'd been luring often vulnerable men to his apartment, first of all sort of entertaining them, having a pleasant evening with them, giving them a drink, but then strangling them. And he'd been doing that for a number of years. When he was eventually captured, he went away very meekly with the police and revealed all. He was happy to talk about his, rather gruesome, gory hobby that he'd had for the last 5 years, and he gave the police an enormous amount of details from which they were able to pick things together. Now, why he'd got it away with it for so long was basically because the people that he'd lured to his apartment, the young men, were off the radar, right? No one was automatically going to miss them. I think some of them might have even been homeless, on drugs, had some issues. And in a weird sort of way, he was like someone who actually was interested in them and listened to their story and gave them a decent evening and a decent meal, and then kind of finished them off. So it was rather bizarre and macabre. I don't believe there was any particularly sexual happenings, right? Although it does seem that there was a pseudo-sexual motive. Now, there was a study done, an astrological study by Jan Reis, and he investigated serial killers, and he came up with some attributes. First of all, the mutable signs were prevalent, right, at a much higher rate than the general population. So we're talking Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. Pisces was extremely important in terms of other placements in the chart as well. Another thing, that people were very often born in May or November, but we're talking about the Gemini section of May, so first decan Geminis, and the Sagittarius section of November, so first decan Sag. He also noticed the moon was usually afflicted by Saturn. There were heavy placements in the 12th house, which of course you need the house placement. You're not always able to find out what's happening in the 12th house. And there were often important planets on the Mars-Neptune, Mars-Uranus, and Mars-Saturn midpoint. Now, contrary to what a lot of people would expect, there weren't sort of Mars-Pluto aspects, because a lot of people would think, oh, Mars-Pluto, that's mega violent. But no. And I think it's because most of these serial killers have a dual personality. They have one side, which is very friendly, amiable, people like them, they're very helpful, and then they have a double life where they do the serial killing, and that's why they remain undetected for so long. So as you can see, this is Dennis Nilsen's chart, and he was born on the 23rd of November. And don't have the year here. Now, interestingly, he's Libra rising with Jupiter rising. Now, when the police wanted to go to, he'd have a short spell in the police, and then he was discriminated against because he was gay. So he left the police, and then he became a civil servant. And when the police wanted to investigate his office and confiscate all the kind of goods and paperwork he had at his office workers were so convinced it wasn't him, they stood in the way and would not allow the police to do any searching of his office without a warrant. And I think that shows his Libra rising. He got on with people. People liked him. He was friendly. He came across as a balanced, normal guy. Jupiter rising shows he was pretty helpful. Maybe even had a sense of humor, a nice guy to hang out with and have a drink with. That's why no one detected him. But immediately, we are seeing the trends because he is a Sagittarius. he has Mercury in Sagittarius, he has Uranus in Gemini, which, to be fair, is typical for his age group, right? They said Moon had to be afflicted, and there we have Moon, a sensitive Moon in Cancer, conjunct Saturn in Cancer, and Saturn's in its detriment in Cancer. So we have immediately what they suggested, the afflicted Moon, the mutable placements, and we've got the placements in the 12th house. Neptune, they said it would particularly be Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus that was placed in the 12th house, and there we have Neptune in the 12th house, and Jupiter, which is on the ascendant, just slipping into the 12th house. We do also have Mars in Leo. And I do find Mars in Leo is a placement that crops up when people tend to be a little bit violent, aggressive, or they're harboring some sort of secret desire to be controlling, right? A very controlling aspect. So I do feel a lot of this serial killing was all about control. The Sagittarius side gives him the audacity to do it. The Jupiter on the ascendant gives him the kind of chutzpah to get away with it, and the personality that was so trusting that all these people were happy to go to his apartment and that he was, a good host. Now, what he would do is he had to gradually get rid of the bodies, hence why he would conceal them initially, then slowly chop them up, boil them, get rid of them gradually, eventually obviously resorted to flushing them down the loo, which was why he got caught. But in his previous abode, he'd been on a ground floor flat, he'd had access to a garden, so he was able to, use the garden to dispose, and he also buried bodies under the floorboard. And he said sometimes he left them for a while, so he had to have a stiff drink so he could muster up the kind of, bit of Dutch courage to go down there, face the terrible smell, pull the body up from under the floorboards and start, cutting it up. So I think that sort of Moon conjunct Saturn, he must have had extreme deprivation in his life that led him to behave in such a way, you would think. He also had Venus in Scorpio in the first house, does represent a sexual theme going on there, some sort of heightened sexual awareness from a young age that was possibly suppressed by parents, which led to him acting out in this way. So it seems that although he was had gay tendencies, as exhibited by, Jupiter in the first conjunct the ascendant in Neptune, also conjunct the Libra ascendant and Neptune in Libra in the 12th. I think his sexuality was suppressed. He was made to feel guilty. His parents were extremely strict, austere, didn't get a lot of love, and this kind of led him up to this dark path. Not that we want to make excuses for these people, but there you go. So I think it was interesting to have a look at some of that research and then to reflect on this guy's chart, because in many ways he fits and ticks a lot of the boxes that they were suggesting would be the case for serial killers.